Welcome to the deep dive. We're jumping right in today with something, well, incredibly important, but honestly, often kind of out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah, exactly.
We're talking about the health of your hearing and your ears.
Mm-hmm.
We've been digging into one source in particular for this, an article called Herbal Allies for Healthy Hearing and Ear Support. It's from Thyme Wellness.
That's the one. And our mission today really is to pull out the key takeaways from this article.
Right.
What does this source actually suggest about how nature, specifically certain herbs, might, support ear health, maybe even hearing?
Trying to cut through the noise, find the actionable stuff, pun fully intended there.
Yeah. It's about getting to the core info.
Because, let's be honest, you rely so much on your hearing for connection, for experiencing everything. But it's so easy to just ignore it until something goes wrong.
Totally. And the Green Time article, it points out some common culprits, loud noise, obviously, but also things like poor circulation, infections, and, well, just getting older, the aging process itself.
And what's interesting here is the sources focus on these natural allies, these herbs.
Yes, it's exploring that potential, how herbs might nurture this vital sense. Looking at sort of traditional uses and maybe some modern applications suggested by what we know about them now.
Okay, so let's unpack this source. It seems like it lists a bunch of herbs.
Right.
And then ties in some broader health tips, too.
Exactly. It approaches it from a few angles. And one big theme, you mentioned circulation earlier, that really runs through several of the herbs they discuss.
Circulation, right.
Absolutely. The source really highlights how vital good blood flow is, especially to those tiny, super delicate parts of the inner ear and the auditory nerves.
Well, that makes sense. I mean, those cells need oxygen, they need nutrients, like anything else.
Precisely.
And the first herb they really zero in on for this is Ginkgo Biloba. You always hear about ginkgo for, like, brain health, memory.
And the source definitely makes that connection. It specifically says ginkgo seems beneficial for circulation to both the brain and the ears. So the idea, as the article explains it, is that improving that blood flow, it might help nourish the auditory nerves and maybe even help with something like tinnitus.
Tinnitus, that ringing.
Yeah, that persistent ringing or buzzing some people get. Better circulation could potentially help.
Huh. So the health of those tiny little blood vessels is directly tied to how well your ears are working. That's a really key insight from the source. Easy to miss.
It really is.
How do they suggest you actually use ginkgo, according to the article?
It says it's pretty flexible, capsules, tinctures, even just tea.
Tea. Simple enough?
Yeah, they suggest the simple tea, like 1 teaspoon of the dried ginkgo leaves steeped for maybe 10 minutes.
Okay, straightforward ways to maybe target that circulation benefit. Does the source mention other herbs for circulation related to ears? You mentioned bilberry earlier.
Right, bilberry comes up. And marjoram, too, with bilberry, which, you often associate with eyes. The source connects its benefit to strengthening capillaries, improving that microcirculation, those really tiny blood vessels. The idea is this could help protect hearing cells from damage over time.
So eyes and ears may be benefiting from similar vascular support? Interesting. And marjoram?
Marjoram, according to the article, also seems to help circulation. And it might help relieve pressure, which could potentially reduce tinnitus symptoms too.
How do you use that one?
Tea again, or even aromatherapy. Used around the ear, not in it, of course.
Right. So definite emphasis in the source on that vascular health link.
What about other issues? Like infections, inflammation. Those seem like obvious problems for ears.
Oh, absolutely. And the article definitely covers those. Garlic is a big one they mention.
Garlic, the classic.
Yeah. The source points to its, well-known antimicrobial properties.
Yeah.
It's traditional use for ear infections.
Mm-hmm.
But it also mentions garlic helps reduce inflammation and improves blood flow, kind of like the others we just talked about. So multitasking there. Doesn't the article have some kind of DIY garlic oil thing? But with a warning.
Yes, a very, very important warning. The source suggests you could warm some olive oil with crushed garlic, strain it, maybe use a drop if needed, and it's in bold in the article, do not use this if you even suspect you have a ruptured eardrum.
Okay, that's critical.
Absolutely. Putting anything in your ear if the eardrum might be compromised is just not worth the risk. You need to know what's going on first.
Super important caution. Always get it checked out. Okay, what other herbs does the source bring up for inflammation or maybe boosting defenses against infections?
Ginger gets a mention.
Oh, I love ginger.
Yeah. Highlighted for reducing inflammation and improving circulation. It acts as a natural anti-inflammatory. The source suggests this might help ease pressure in the inner ear, which could be good for things like vertigo or infections.
And how do they suggest using it?
Simple stuff. Drinking fresh ginger tea, adding it to your food, easy.
Nice. And echinacea. We usually think of that for colds, right?
Exactly. But the Green Thyme article connects echinacea to strengthening the immune system more broadly.
Okay.
It specifically notes it could be beneficial if you're someone who gets recurring ear infections or inflammation. The idea is boosting your overall immune response might be supportive.
So like a preventative strategy, maybe.
That seems to be the angle the source takes. Tinctures, or tea, are the suggested forms there.
And turmeric. That's everywhere for inflammation now.
And for good reason, according to the source. It highlights turmeric for fighting inflammation and also oxidative stress.
Oxidative stress.
Yeah.
Like cell damage.
Yeah, essentially. It links curcumin, the active compound, to potentially protecting ear cells from damage, whether that's age-related or from the environment.
Interesting. Does it give a way to take it?
It actually includes a recipe for golden milk.
Oh, yeah, seen that.
Warm milk, turmeric, a bit of black pepper apparently helps absorption, and maybe some honey. A comforting way to get it in.
Okay, so we've got herbs potentially helping with circulation, fighting off infections, calming inflammation. What about nerve function? That seems pretty fundamental to hearing.
It absolutely is. Hearing is ultimately about signals traveling along those auditory nerves.
Right.
And the source brings up brahmi here, also known as Bacopa monnieri. It's a herb from Ayurvedic tradition.
Okay, Brahmi.
Highlighted specifically for supporting cognitive function and nerve function. That includes the auditory nerves. The article suggests it supports the nervous system generally and might even potentially assist in repairing damaged nerves.
Wow, that's a big claim.
Yeah.
The idea that something natural could help nerve repair related to hearing. How does the source suggest taking Brahmi?
Tea or capsules are mentioned, and interestingly, the source notes that combining it with ghee clarified butter might improve absorption. That's a traditional Ayurvedic practice.
Fascinating. Okay, are there any herbs in the article for more like immediate minor stuff, like simple earache?
Yes, definitely. Holy basil or tulsi,
Yeah.
another revered herb in Ayurveda.
Yeah.
It's listed for minor earaches and infections. The article points to its natural antimicrobial and pain-relieving qualities.
Is there another DIY tip for that one?
There is. The source suggests crushing fresh leaves to get the juice, warming it slightly, maybe using a drop or two.
Okay.
And again, the source is really clear on this. Always check with a healthcare provider first before putting anything in your ear, natural or not, especially with kids or if the pain is bad.
That warning keeps coming up. It really underscores how delicate ears are.
It really does.
What about kajeput oil? The source mentions that one too, right?
Yeah.
For ear pain.
Yes, kajeput. It's sometimes used in topical natural remedies. The article notes its antibacterial and soothing properties.
Okay.
But, crucially, another big safety note from the source here, never put pure essential oil directly inside the ear canal.
Right, that sounds dangerous.
Very. The recommended use is mixing just a few drops with a carrier oil like coconut or olive oil and applying it around the outside of the ear, gently massaging it near the ear.
Around the ear, not in it. That's a vital difference.
Absolutely critical for safety.
Okay, so we've covered herbs in this source, looking at circulation, inflammation, infection, nerve support, even some minor discomfort relief. But the Green Thyme article didn't just stop at herbs, did it? It had some, general tips, too.
That's right. It kind of rounds out the picture with some fundamental preventative stuff, things that aren't specific to herbs.
And the most obvious one is probably protecting your ears from loud noise.
Absolutely. Number one, really, for preventing damage. Non-negotiable, according to the source.
Makes sense.
It also includes simple things like keeping your ears dry and clean. And it specifically warns against using Q-tips inside the ear canal.
Oh, yeah, the Q-tip warning. I feel like everyone's heard that, but maybe still does it.
It's tempting. But the source says they can just push wax deeper in, potentially causing impaction.
Good reminder. What else did the source suggest in those general tips?
Staying well hydrated was mentioned. Apparently, it helps keep earwax at the right consistency so the ear can manage it naturally.
Huh. Hydration for earwax. Didn't know that.
Yeah, and this connects back to some of the other themes the source emphasizes managing underlying health conditions. Things like blood pressure and blood sugar levels.
Oh, okay. because problems there could affect the blood supply or nerves in the ear.
Exactly. Just like some herbs aim to improve circulation or nerve health, uncontrolled systemic issues could harm them. It really shows how interconnected everything is.
It really does.
And finally, they recommend incorporating hearing supportive foods, leafy greens, fatty fish like salmon, nuts, berries, those kinds of things.
Okay, so the overall picture from this Green Time article seems pretty holistic then.
Yeah, I think so.
Protect your ears from obvious damage, keep up your general health diet, managing conditions, and then maybe consider these natural allies, these herbs, for some targeted support based on what they might do.
That definitely seems to be the core message from the source we looked at today.
So we've taken quite a deep dive into this Green Time Wellness article. We've looked at how it suggests herbs like ginkgo, garlic, ginger, turmeric, brahmi, and others might support your ears.
Right, through different potential mechanisms, improving circulation, reducing inflammation, maybe fighting infection, supporting nerves.
And we also covered those really crucial general tips it included: noise protection, cleaning, overall health.
And while the article presents these herbs as, potential natural allies, potential support,
There's that big but.
there is. The source repeats it multiple times, and it's vital. Always consult a healthcare provider, especially if you have actual ear pain or you think you have an infection or you have diagnosed hearing loss.
Definitely.
Natural support is one thing, but professional medical guidance, that's non-negotiable for ear health.
That's the bottom line here. Natural approaches are about support, about wellness, not about replacing medical care for actual conditions.
Precisely. And this source really did connect some interesting dots, suggesting how things like blood flow, nerve health, even systemic things like blood pressure and sugar levels, how they all seem to play a role in how well our ears function.
Yeah, that interconnectedness really stands out. Thinking about how supporting circulation in general with something like ginkgo, or supporting nerve function with brahmi, or just managing your overall health, how that could potentially ripple out and impact something as specific as your hearing. It makes you think, doesn't it? What does this kind of deeper look at herbal support, framed by this source, tell you about the body's incredible web of systems? And maybe the potential for weaving natural approaches into a bigger, more holistic view of your own wellness. Definitely some food for thought there.